So carrying on from the last lesson, we were looking at how far the car travelled in 5 seconds. And before we were looking at when there were 1 second increments here. So this would have been time 0, this is time 1, time 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and 5 seconds. So we're saying after 5 seconds, the car had travelled 30 meters because we added up all the distance travelled in these blocks in between the things. And that gave us these numbers, right? Fair enough. But my question is, will the size of the chunk make any difference to figuring out the final score? Well, I don't know. You might not think it makes any difference, but let's just have a look. So here we've actually taken the distance travelled at 0.5 increments. That's actually 0.5 seconds. That's 1 second. That's 2 seconds. That's 3 seconds. That's 4 seconds. And that is 5 seconds. So all that we've done differently here is calculate the distance travelled in smaller increments. And you can see that you actually get a smaller number than we did with calculate it with 1 second. All right, fair enough. It's gotten smaller. What happens if we make it even smaller? Okay, and we calculate it every 10th of a second. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 1 second. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you can see now it's even smaller. Okay, it's got smaller. And the reason for this, which I will go on to explain, is because it gives you a much more accurate representation of what we're trying to do. Now I'm going to skip on to the next slide for a visual aid. Okay, basically we want to make the chunks as small as possible. Okay, and the reason we want to make them as small as possible is because the smaller you make that chunk, the truer that you can treat it like a constant value. You know, when we said something was traveling at 80 miles an hour for 2 hours or whatever we said, that's not accurate. But can we say something's traveling 80 miles an hour for like 0.1 seconds? Yeah, probably, because such a small amount of time, the change is going to be really insignificant. And if we don't even think about 0.1 seconds, we think about 0.0001, we just get that tiny little slither of time and we use that to measure our distance. So you actually get lots of tiny distances travelled, like really small distances, for every individual chunk. But when you add them together, you get a much more accurate picture. And that is basically the idea of how integration works. If you can get your head around that, it's so helpful. It really helps you understand what's going on and why you're doing it.